success talking about the Miami Dolphins versus one New York team. So guess what? We're going to do it again. Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, AFC East matchup. As you know, the Miami Dolphins, they went into the bye week streaking on one of the highest NFL winning streaks going in, and they are on the cusp of being somewhat playoff relevant because their end of the year schedule breaks down a little something like this. Obviously, week 15, they get the New York Jets. We'll preview this game here. The next week, they get the Saints. The next week after that, they get the Titans. The next week after that, they get the Patriots in Miami, and we kind of know how that game script has played out in the past. But as it turns out for the New York Jets here, Brian Flores, Tua, they've been getting this team together. They've been getting things going. One major change, Jalen Waddle and Tua, wise draft pick there because their connection from Alabama has rolled over to the pros. In fact, Jalen Waddle's making a low-key case for Offensive Rookie of the Year, somewhat behind the scenes as we kind of close towards this end. He'll have to catch up with Jamar Chase out there in Cincinnati for that position, or Mac Jones as well, too, depending on how the rest of the season plays out. Miami going into this game is a 9.5-point favorite. Is there any reason that we should doubt them in this game, Kyle?
Yeah, 20 years of Dolphins football suggests we should doubt them in this game because the Dolphins, the scariest version of the Dolphins is the Dolphins with expectations, worse than the Dolphins who have not won a playoff game since 2000, or the Dolphins that have only made the playoffs twice in the last 15 years is the Dolphins with expectations. The Miami Dolphins, by the way, in 13 of their last 14 seasons have finished between either 6 and 10 wins. It is pretty remarkable that they have done that every single year. But I will say Jalen Waddle's not going to win Rookie of the Year, but the only reason is because he had such a slow start to the season. He was looking like Jarvis Landry a bit before. In the last 3 games that Jalen Waddle has played, so that's the Jets, the Panthers, and the Giants. Understandably, not great teams, but Miami Dolphins have played a lot of not great teams as of recently. In those games, he has walked away with 320 receiving yards and a whopping 26 receptions for one Jalen Waddle. It makes my fantasy team very happy because I also have had Jalen Waddle buried on my bench the entire season, and now I can slide him in as, Hollywood Brown starts to fall off.
Would you say he waddled into your starting lineup?
You could say something like that. You could say something like that.
The great part is this is a video segment on these game previews here, so they can actually see my sound effects in my finger guns,
and they can see my
watch the full podcast, guys.
Yes, they can see my eye roll at that lazy joke right there. Just absolutely lazy. There's not a ton of serious analysis I can give at this point. We talked a little bit in the Urban Meyer segment about the Jets, and if you check out Friday's episode of Take It Easy, we did about 20 minutes on the New York Jets because the Jets have not set up Zach Wilson well to succeed this year. They have one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. Defense is ranked 25th in DVOA, I believe, right now. I haven't checked for this week, so those numbers might have changed since last week. But it's not been great for the Jets. But again, they have their first round pick, which is right now would be number 3. They have the Seahawks pick, which right now would be number 8 in the draft. They have the 8th most cap space in the NFL going into next offseason, and they can create even more if they cut CJ Mosley. So I just want to throw out here that a Jets helmet does exist. I do indeed have this Jets helmet in my repertoire. We haven't had any chance to bring it out this year. I would just like to show for the visual audience that indeed a Jets helmet does exist.
Did you not pick them against the Falcons in our London preview?
Did I do that? That is unfortunate if I did. I regret making that decision if I did pick the Jets, but I just want to show them that it exists. And then I will proceed by picking the Miami Dolphins, the greatest football team who run the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen.
You're doing well if you have your own theme song there. If you have your own theme song, you're doing okay. And hey, if they get the theme song, by the way,
that also was remixed by T-Pain in 2008, and the Dolphins have not won a playoff game since then.
Hey, there you go, guys. You're doing pretty well. And you'll be 7-7 after this weekend, and we'll see how you close it out there. The one thing, like I said, that goes in Miami's favor is they do have this interesting end of the year schedule in which you can make a case that they could win the remaining 3 games. It would be one of the most remarkable things in NFL history, considering this team started the season 1-7 on a 7-game losing streak after barely winning their week 1 game on a Damian Harris fumble. And now they've just kind of like rattled off consecutive win after consecutive win here. And they're not wowing you. Like you said, it's a lot of running game. They're talking about bringing Malcolm Brown off the IR heading into this one. How much of a plus that is for him in this lineup? Well, fantasy take. I mean, the Jets are one of the worst defenses against fantasy running backs there. So Malcolm Brown might actually be an immediate start there.
Update. So as of today, Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed have been removed from the COVID list. They have gotten out of protocol.
Perfect. Well, then plug them into your lineup because the Jets defense, these guys stink. And that's probably one of the biggest indictments on Robert Saleh. Yes, the Jets, they don't exactly have a team of killers out there, but Robert Saleh, of course, is a defensive coordinator who's turned more into a CEO head coach because he hired his own defensive coordinator, which is a little bit of an odd decision when you think about who should be the defensive play caller for the team moving forward. And we literally talked about this earlier in the podcast, so I definitely recommend you guys check out the full version of the podcast here. It is tough whenever you bring in a defensive-minded head coach at this point in time because of the constant string of having to bring in offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator, whether they succeed or fail, because whether they decide to say that Matt LaFleur or Mike LaFleur, whatever, the LaFleur younger brother was a success or failure, he's probably not going to be in New York too much longer. If he has any kind of success, you know he's going to get that instant McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur bump for a head coaching position. If he continues to fail, he won't be on this New York Jets team too much longer. And that means a new offensive coordinator and another offensive coordinator and another offensive coordinator after that. You could be Alex Smith, 6 coordinators in 6 years. And I don't think any quarterback, certainly a young developed quarterback like Zach Wilson coming out of BYU when he was somewhat of a raw talent, is really going to be one that can appreciate that. One thing I'll say in the Jets' favor, the Jets beating you is very unlikely. The Jets embarrassing you is very unlikely. There's never a 0% chance. Hang on to that one, New York.
I will say before we walk out, one fun Dolphins stat is that during the 1-7 stretch, the Miami Dolphins averaged allowing 25 points per game. In the 5 games since, against not great opponents and the Baltimore Ravens. They did beat the Ravens in there, but not great opponents other than the Ravens, allowing 12 points per game in the win streak since then. It is the second best change in the NFL from weeks 1 through 8 through the next 5 weeks. The only team that has a better improvement in points per game, the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, and that wraps up that